What is the author's life like? Nothing like I expected. The main things are, well, I'll give you an example. When my career, first I was just standing at tables, at Walden Books or whatever in malls, when just one book was out, completely unknown. And people asked, what was the biggest question you were asked when you were at book signings? And it was like, where are the Harry Potter books? Just stand. But as my career took off, I don't know, 4 or 5 books, I would arrive at some place and kind of an invasion of personal space. I'd turn this way and that way, and like a cell phone would just be like, thrust in my face. And I realized real quickly, people are taking pictures, as I was walking in. And so every time I'd see a cell phone, I'd smile and pose. And then after a while, my career took off to another plateau, and it'd be a cell phone, and I'd smile again, and they'd go, no, I want you to talk to somebody. Who is it? Just talk to them. My favorite, now that's interesting enough, but my favorite one was, I was on the national tour, and you'd have to know the geography. I was in Kansas City, and a woman was in line, and she came up and she was going to get a book signed, and she said, my husband reads all your books. He wanted to be here tonight. You're signing, but he couldn't make it. And would you talk to him? Very nice. Okay, I'll talk to him. Yeah, he couldn't be here. He was in Leavenworth. He had he had 4 years to go, and the thing was, he didn't believe it was me, and he thought his wife was playing a joke. It's not funny. I'm in the can, and so then I get defensive, and I start trying to prove it is me, and after a while I figured what's wrong with this picture? HarperCollins has me on this tour, Barnes and Noble along the line, and I'm arguing with an inmate, and finally he asked me a trivia question, and I proved it was me, and then he got all excited, and he said, oh yeah, we pass the books all around, all the guys in here read you all the time, you're really big in Leavenworth, so you cracked that market. But it started out, I was touring almost exclusively Florida, but Florida, this is just inside baseball in the business, Florida is probably the perfect place for an author to start out, because it has a great cross-pollination between tourists and seasonal residents and people who have relatives who move here. So the word of the books get out. But no, it is national, and I have to really credit Carl Hyacin with whetting the appetites and sort of orienting people to the sort of off-center books that are coming out of Florida. And the interesting thing is that as a result, outside of Florida, you get credit for having a fantastic imagination. Oh, you're a brilliant writer, and then in Florida, it's like, oh, you write documentaries. So, so that's how it pretty much goes. And the best part is people will say, oh, yeah, I'm up in here in Seattle, and I read your books, and God, I will never move to Florida. And I'm like, it's working, Anyway, I remember I wrote my first book. And 2 things. First of all, it took my whole life up to that point to write it. And then the other thing is I had to write a prequel fairly quickly, because what happened was, I didn't think it was going to get published, and I was just going to be that one book, because I figured, I'd be lucky most people would be lucky just to write one. And the reason I had to do a prequel was, when I wrote that one book, like I said, I just thought I was just writing it for myself. I killed off, just about all my characters, and then I got a multiple book deal, and I needed them, so I had to go back. But yeah, that was the thing that surprised me. I got a 2-book deal, and I didn't realize it. I figured they'd just buy 1 book, but I guess they figure if they're going to invest in the first book, if it does well, they want to have the right to the second. And immediately after that deal, my agent said, you need to do another one, and I'd like to see it in about 6 months. Oh, well, a little bit more about Atomic Lobster is Serge has he has rubber band up on the visor. He keeps flipping it down. It's a picture of a woman in an astronaut suit that he's in love with. and Coleman's riding with him, and he keeps looking at it, and she's just infatuated. He's got a crush, and Coleman says, that's that crazy woman that did all that traveled 10 hours straight to the Orlando airport, and the whole story. And he goes, what's so special about her? And so she goes, that chick's focused. So, and then Coleman says, yeah, but do we have to keep wearing diapers? Yes. So anyway, basically, back at least when I was at that age, the curriculums in school, like I'm very big on the fact that there are children's books out, chapter books, like Harry Potter. Some people ask the question almost, negatively, like, what do you think is Harry Potter stuff? And it's wonderful. I mean, my kids read that. They read all kinds of stuff, and there's a generation now that is learning to read for the love of books and for their own pleasure, and not because they have to meet a course requirement. And that's pretty much the fork in the road for society, essentially, is those who read books, on their own, because that's, they understand, the value, and those who don't read any. I get so many people come up, especially when I'll be doing, finishing up a signing, and somebody will wander, over, like I said, in a mall or something, and they'll say, yeah, I don't read books. And I'm like, well, keep it to yourself, they don't even know enough to, that part of it. But anyway. So you know Serge, pretty much. Well, one of my favorite compliments, and again, things come in ways you never expect. But it was a couple years ago, and I was just north of Palm Beach County. I think it might have been like Jensen Beach, and I was wrapping up the book signing, collecting my pens, getting up and shaking hands, and it's a true story. The door burst open, and a young guy comes running in, and he's all out of breath, and he says, "Oh, thank God! I thought you'd be gone by now. I made it." And he said, "I was about 10 miles up the road, and I was a cop pulled me over, and he said he clocked me going 25 miles an hour over the speed limit, and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt." And then sometimes how they give a little attitude when they're in the window, hey buddy, where are you going in such a hurry? And I said, well, I'm late. I'm trying to get to a book signing, by a guy named Tim Dorsey. He said the cop took a step back and he goes, "I love Serge," and let him go. Yeah, I don't think that's right, but anyway. And if you remember in Triggerfish Twist, how they found the rental house on Triggerfish Lane was the rental sign got stuck in the grill when Coleman wiped the car out. And well, I got that idea. Again, I can't take credit fully. My friend told me he had just gotten a convertible and lived down in Miami, and he was like, it was like Friday night, and like I said, don't condone this. This is a while ago. He's calmed down, but he was a little bit under the influence, and the Stones came on the radio. He told me, he goes, "I love the Stones." So he cranked up the Stones, and he said he thought it'd be a great idea to put the car in cruise control and drive standing up, like a ship's captain, And he did this, and so, anyway. So like you said about writer's block, people, if I ever have a writer's block, I call my friend, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" "Okay, great," and then I'm off and running. So, the big bamboo. One thing I love to do in my books is, and this is where all the books started from, was before characters or plot. Each book. I mean, I know Serge is going to be in them, and some of the returning characters, but I start with the places that I love, and especially the more obscure, the better, or the more off the Chamber of Commerce radar, or at least they'd like to keep it off the radar. But the like the Big Bamboo Lounge, the previous book, Torpedo Juice, is the No Name Pub, and it's funny. A lot of people thought, because it sounds like a fictional name. It sounds like something a writer would think up, and well, another thing, mentioning articles, the further away from Florida, the better, the more currency they give you. They think you're bigger, and so there was I think it was probably Philadelphia or someplace in maybe Pittsburgh. I got a phone interview for a newspaper when Torpedo Juice was coming out, and he got an advance copy, and he said, "Well, are there any actual bars that exist that are like the No Name Pub?" And I go, "The No Name Pub, And then he asked, and the other question he asked was, he goes, "Well, now that you have, like 7 books out, and you're, a really big author and stuff, are you able to, still able to walk around, Florida, without people coming up and bothering you?" And I said, "Well, not because they recognize me, but they still bother me." So, but anyway.